Hey everyone, I am here to, review Shirley on Netflix, written and directed by John Ridley, starring Regina King, produced by Regina and Raina King. This is a movie that it just came out on Netflix, like literally this weekend. I'm recording it the day after it dropped. But I have spent the last couple months interviewing John Ridley on multiple projects, not even like film projects, just like stuff that he's worked on for DC. And I was excited to check this out. He and I were talking about his IDW series, Ministry of Compliance. You guys should check it out. It's actually really good. You can check out my interviews on multiverseofcolor.com. But he was like, ask me anything. So I wanted to talk about Regina King just a little bit because I knew he had a project with her coming up. And he talked about Shirley, how this movie couldn't have been made without Regina and Raina. And I was wanting to check it out. So I got an opportunity to watch it. And one thing I'm going to say right off the bat, it's kind of hard, like it's a spoiler free, it's a biographical film about a person that existed. Shirley Chisholm is our first ever Black congresswoman elected to the U.S. Congress. And this is about her run for presidency. Now, we know what happens. So it's kind of hard to, with these type of films, historical films, it's kind of hard to say like, I know what, to get excited about something or to learn something new. So one thing I will say about it is Regina is, as always, a presence and a force. She is one of my favorite actors for a reason. She owns and commands every single scene that she's in. Shirley's accent she was doing was a little crazy, but the way she's able to emote and push through, she's so small, and the way the shots were framed, shout out to Ridley for that. She looks so small, but still had this presence about her in a lot of scenes that I was really loved. I will say that she was the strongest, but the cast around her was incredible. I think this is one of Lance Reddick's last roles, which is, he was wonderful in. I thought he was great. Terrence was in it. There's a lot of actors in it. There's one of my favorite parts of the movie was seeing how each person was introduced and used to prop up Shirley's campaign. I gotta say though, it was the first half hour. It was a little tedious. I'm not gonna lie. I wasn't a fan of I feel like it got bogged down in too many like little details. I find Shirley to be herself, to be so fascinating. The tension with her own family, how committed she is to her community, how she gets wrapped up and trapped up in, which happens to a lot of progressive, it still happens now, progressive, liberal politicians or idealistic, who want to make change. They see what's going on in the community. They see what's going on with working families, teachers, mechanics, like the real everyday working people. They work with them every single day. We see this happening, and they go to Hollywood. They go to the Hill. They go to the Capitol Hill, like, and they change, or they come up against the machine, essentially. And back then, the machine was, you're a woman and you're Black. Like one of the first things after she got elected was a senator saying to her, you make, every day, he says to her, apparently, you make the same amount of money as me. And she's like, yes. And it's just right off the bat, you get the what she's dealing with and what she's going through. I think the movie got bogged down in too many details about other people that I don't think mattered. I think when it focused on Shirley and her interpersonal connections with her husband, like the tension with that, the little relationship we had going on with Terrence Howard's character, Arthur Hardwick. There was the cool relationship she built with her student outreach guy that like ended up with, ended up being a lawyer or whatever. It was really cool, like moments that Robert Gottlieb, he was great. Like the guy who played him was great. There was so much stuff that they could work. I just felt like it didn't go all the way there for me. I think back, like, and this is an issue I have with a lot of like historical stuff, because if you can't, how can you make it more interesting when we already know what happens? So I'm just like wondering what more we could have gotten out of this story, because you think about Judas and the Black Messiah, we know what's going to happen, but it wasn't any less devastating. And I bring that up because Huey P. Newton and the Black Panthers are also featured in this film. And that's one of the most exhilarating and exciting moments we get in Shirley. Her seeing Regina as Shirley going up against, a lot of it is misogyny. It's misogynoir. And constantly having to tell people, yeah, I am qualified, I can do this, is an exhausting thing. And I think Regina portrays that so well. It is something that Black women have to constantly contend with, doing more work, putting in more hours, our blood, sweat, and tears more than anyone, to prove that we belong here. And Shirley, throughout the film, you can see, and I think it's one of the strongest through points, is she's constantly failed by Black men and white women. She never, she kind of wrote off white men, like, they're not going to go for me. But there was a moment when she's like, why aren't white women and Black men showing up for me? And at the end, she's betrayed by Black men. I think that was it was so powerful and strong, and really good work, and good themes that I feel like should have been amplified more. Because the cast, the actors, the men that were on her team and around her were fantastic. But I do think that we got bogged down a little bit in too much in their stories. And I wanted more about her, And I will say that she made me really emotional. The very final scene, when she's on the phone, she's just so powerful. And I started tearing up. And that's the magic and the beauty of Regina King as an actor. And I think her and Ridley make magic together. They've been in America. They did American Crime together. And he said this in his own words, that they have had more failures and successes. They have so many projects they've not gotten off the ground. And I hope to see more from them. I think that with this movie, I think like I said this to my partner when I was talking about it. I think this is a great movie to educate younger people who do not know anything about her. I learned stuff. I didn't know that this was the year that she was running for president was the first year that 18-year-olds got to vote. It was a year that things changed. I think it was like the Democratic primaries where the winner takes all. They sued to change that. There was some cool stuff where, she went up against the media, the media networks, like calling out the liberal media for not giving her a chance. There was some really good stuff. And having had talked to Ridley before, I could tell some of that radical progressiveness was coming out in this, and I really wanted to see more of that. I wanted to see more of Shirley, the radical, the progressive. The running for president thing, because it's like such an interesting and big thing that's happened. I feel like so much more of her life is so much more interesting than just her failed bid for running for presidency. But it was good. I think it's good to be educated on, because there's so many things that happen as a result of her doing that. So all in all, I think the movie I would give it a B- maybe. Regina really ate every scene she was in. But I think that it could have been a stronger story. There was great shots in it, visual shots, especially with cops running up on her when she was walking with Robert at one point, and it was just the tension. I was like, what is happening? And it was just a lot of really good moments, but it just didn't connect together fully for an A movie for me. But I think you should check it out. If you don't know anything about Shirley Chisholm, she's the first ever Black congresswoman elected. She ran for president, and she had a wild. There were 3 assassination attempts on her life. She pushed through. So I think it's worth watching the movie. But yeah, this is Vanessa Sharp for TeamJVS. You can read my interviews with John Ridley on multiverseofcolor.com. And yeah, have a good one, y'all. Goodbye.
Filing out the top of the I can see the skyline, 50-mile radius on my timeline. Ain't nothing on my mind, oh Lord.